Hey there, welcome to Not Your Ordinary Girl, a podcast for professionals looking to find their voice, define their brand, and maximize their impact. Episodes are a collection of lessons from real life, interviews with people doing incredible things, tips and tools to get you on your way to realizing your infinite career possibilities. Hey there. So today we're going to be talking about preparing for a job interview. Seems to be that time of year. Spring is sprung and everybody's getting a little antsy. I've been getting a lot of questions about how best to prepare for an interview, what kind of questions you should be asking while you're at the interview, things like follow-up emails, thank you notes, all kinds of things like that. So I figured it would be a good use of our time today to talk a little bit about prepping for a job interview. For starters, congratulations if you're listening to this because you are all excited about an interview for the possible next great adventure of your career. Congrats, that's super awesome. And I hope that what we talk about today really helps you get ready for that interview and nail it.
That's one of the trickiest ones to
Having
deal with
done lots of interviews on both sides of the table, I understand it's kind of nerve-wracking, but it also feels so amazing when you totally ace it and you come out and you're thinking, oh, I did a great job on that. I asked really good questions. I'm going to go home and send my thank you follow-up email, and they're going to call me. I also know what it's like where you feel that way and you get home and you wait and you wait and you wait, and then you don't get that email. And they just disappear. What do they call it in the online dating world? You get ghosted. And I get that too. And if that happens to you, I'm so sorry because I hate that feeling. All I can tell you is don't stop trying. Just keep looking for opportunities, keep going out there, and keep trying. If you make it to the point where you're at an interview, you're already ahead of the game, right? Because they only interview so many people. And every interview, even if it's successful and leads to a job or not, is a great experience.
And that should be
great practice of public speaking. It's great practice of passing along your message, demonstrating who you are, communicating your personal brand, and just interacting with other professional folks. So you never know where that's going to lead to in the future. You may even just make a really good connection of a professional colleague that you can turn to in the future. You know, maybe you end up friending them on LinkedIn and it's a good connection. They may recommend you to someone else that you might be a better fit for, right? So try to take it as a glass half full, and even those interviews that don't go great,
because
roll that all into experience and apply that to the next one.
We're doing our best. And
so prepping for your interview, let's go ahead and dig in.
Our boss is constantly checking in with us and interrupting our progress or our process or however it is that we go to do our job, sending us emails. Where's the set? Let me see it at this stage. Let me see it at that
built
stage.
Upon two pillars.
It really
One is you need to worry about
counterproductive,
me, and the other is you need to worry about
for the
them.
manager and the employee. Right?
This
You're
isn't
trying
really
to get
as
something done on
competitive
deadline,
as
and
it
someone
sounds.
keeps checking in, wanting to see the status.
But I guess it's easier for me to break it down in my preparation for these
comma here, put a new paragraph there
in two parts.
It really builds resentment and
the most important
feeling
thing,
of distrust
if
that,
you
hey, this person
get nothing else
just
out of this
isn't
podcast
trusting
today,
me to do my
the
job.
most important thing for you to take away from this
and
is
they
that
want to
anytime
nitpick every
you are
little
going
thing
to a job interview,
that I'm doing,
whether you need the
not
job desperately or not,
boss-employee relationship. So
you should be in the driver's
really
seat.
kind of get around this.
You are also
the best thing that I've found for that type of a manager, especially if it's a new manager. They may not even realize that they're doing it. They're trying to dazzle their bosses as a new manager. They're trying to set a good example. They're trying to really set themselves apart, and they're forgetting the fact that you've been working and you've been doing a good job all along.
And that organization or company, you are interviewing
they just don't know how you work
to see if they are fit to be your next employer.
Work with you for a little bit and get a feel for how your writing skills are.
Because at the end of the day, you are in control of where you work. You don't have to say yes.
And then
I understand you may need to pay the bills, and maybe this is just a position to get you by for 6 months, 12 months.
You know,
that's
obviously
the case,
you don't want to let it
you
go
do
a
what you
year
gotta
where
do.
you're pulling your hair out.
But I
and
would
just want to
still
quit your
encourage
job,
you to
which you
really
otherwise
go
loved
into your
until
interview
you
with
had
the
this
mindset
micromanaging supervisor.
that you are in charge too.
But you also
You're going
might
to be
sit down and
nervous.
talk to
You're
them.
going to be a
Say
little
it's been a
anxious.
month
You
or
want to make
so,
sure you put your best
and
foot
it's
forward.
not changing.
You make a good impression.
They seem to be
I get all
pleased
of that.
with your
And
performance.
that's going to
They
happen.
seem to be happy
But
with the
you'll
the
also
products
be a
that
little
you're
bit more
producing.
confident.
And
You'll be a
sit
little
down
bit
with them
more
and
calm
say, hey, you know, I
in your
noticed
gut
that you
if you're
are
reminding
very
yourself
involved
that they
at
should
every
be
step
nervous
of the
too.
way. And
I have questions
if that's
for
what
them,
makes you comfortable,
and I want to make sure that
I
they
can understand that,
are a good fit
but
for me.
at the same time,
So
it's
in
very
preparation for
difficult for me
what
to
you
do
need to be doing
my
for
job
your side of the
in a
table,
timely manner
the
without
first thing
stress
I would
if
encourage you to do
are
is
often
research.
checking in on
It
me.
doesn't matter if you're working
Or-
for McDonald's
And this is where it
or
kind of
some
depends
Fortune
on
500
their
company.
temperament.
Okay,
Right? I mean,
you
we
need
all
to do
work
your
with
homework.
people
You need to
that
learn
are
about that
hot-headed
organization.
or
You need to learn about that
impatient
company.
or
Anybody that's working
very
there that you can get
thin-skinned.
information
If
on.
you've got a
You need to
thin-skinned
go into
manager
this
who
being
is
as aware
micromanaging
and
you,
prepared
you're going to
for
need to be
who
delicate
you're going to be
about the
working with
conversation that you have
as possible.
and turn
We're
it
so
around
lucky
and say,
nowadays
you
with
know,
the internet
I
because
really
there's
want to make
such
you
a
look
wealth
good,
of information on
and
there
I've
about
been
pretty much
working with you now
everything,
for X
everybody,
number
every
of
place.
days, weeks, months,
That all you have to
and
do
I'm
is
noticing
Google,
that you
right?
want to be
You're going to work
involved
for
at every
we're going to
step
call
of the
it Acme
way.
Flag Makers.
Is there a
for the
way that
purpose
we
of
can
this
come
episode?
up
Okay.
with
You're going to go work
an
for Acme Flag
arrangement
Makers.
of how I can
You're
be
going to Google
providing
them.
you updates
You're going to read
that are not
everything you
impacting
can
my
about their
workflow,
website. If
because
they
I
have 10
really don't
pages,
want to
you should read
set you
every
back
page
on
twice,
time
maybe
because
3
I'm
times.
stopping what
Take
I'm
some
doing
notes.
to provide you updates
Read about
when
the
I could be keeping
founders.
things
Read
on
about the
track.
mission.
So
Read
how
about the
can I
vision
help
and the
you?
values. And
And
anything
if
they
you
put up there
turn it
is
around and make
great
it sound
information
like
for
you are really
because it
looking out
gives
for
you
their best interest,
a
then
sneak
that will
peek
go further than
of
saying
the
you're making me
culture
crazy.
of that
You need to
organization.
stop checking on me every
Read
5
about
minutes.
the types of
I know how to
services
do
they
my
offer.
job.
Read about
So
their
that's obviously
locations
not
if
going
there's
to be
more than
your
one.
best approach.
You know,
Sometimes
anything
this is
on there
difficult
that
because
you
we get
can
really frustrated
learn
and then
about
we
and
lose our
take some
temper.
notes on
But I
and get
would
a better
encourage you to
feel
take a minute
for
before
what
you
that
send that
organization
email
is telling the
and
world.
consider the type of temperament
That's
and
more
the type of
informed
personality
that you will be
manager has
during the interview.
and really kind of
And
address
it will help you
the
understand
conversation with them
why they're
on
asking some
how
of the
you
questions
can
they
be
are.
most
It will
successful.
also offer you
And
the
like
opportunity
I said, they may
to
not even know that they're doing
spout
it.
that
They
back
may
at
not
them
even realize it.
in a polite manner.
So you
I'm not
might
saying you walk in
talk
there
to them
and you
about
list off
it
their
that
core
way
values
and say, you know, I'm
and
not sure
this
if
isn't
you
a
are aware,
hey, look at
but
me, I did my homework
I
kind of a
am
thing.
driving
This is
towards
more
this deadline
one to give you
and
the
trying to get it
confidence
done because I want to
when you
make sure
go
that,
into the
that you
interview
have
that you
your
know a little bit
deliverable in
about who
time
it is
for
that
wherever
you're
you need to take it.
interviewing with.
But it's
Plus
it's
to give
slowing
you
me
that
down
background
when
so that
we're
you
checking
can
in at all of these
make
incremental
calculated
stops. Could
responses
we perhaps
to their questions. If
meet
you know
weekly
that
or
this is
meet quarterly
a
or meet every
super
other day or
work-life
however it
balance
is that they would
friendly
feel comfortable
environment.
to go over your
And
product
it
for
says
the
all
entire
over their
day, but at least
website
give
that
you a few hours to
they
actually
do community
some
picnics
work,
and
rather
you
than
can bring
emailing
your
you every hour to
family
check in on
and
how things are going
they
because that's really impeding
do
the
a
progress.
mandatory number
Hopefully
of
that will go
vacation
well.
time days a year
And
for all of their
they
employees.
will understand
You know
that
going in
it's in their
that
best
this is
interest
a
to give you a
very
little bit of rope.
family
There are some
focused
people that are going
work-life
to
balance
micromanage
type
you
of an
until
organization.
the time they're not
So
your manager anymore,
you
and
probably
that's
don't
just
want to
their
go in
style.
there saying, "Oh, I
And
really
that'll be
I have no
something you'll
family, I
have
have no
to
friends, I have
come to
nothing to
terms
do
with
other
if
than
it's
work.
something
I'm
you
really
can
just
live
looking
with.
for the
Hopefully,
type of
as they get to
organization where I
know
can put
you,
my
they
head
might
down
back
and,
off a little
really
bit.
bust my butt and
There
get
are lots of
ahead
people
without
that do
any
that once they
distractions."
build that trust, but there are
That's
also
probably
others
not
out
going
there
to
that
be
just
a
never
wise
will.
thing to
That's
say
just their
there.
style.
That may be
In
what
that
you're
case,
thinking,
it's
but
tricky, right? I mean, this is your boss.
that's probably
this is your
not
job. What do you
best
do?
response.
Do you want to
It's
get
not
a
the
whole
best
new
way
job
for
because your boss is
them
driving
to
you crazy
really
and
feel
probably will be
connected
for
to
a
you
while?
because they're all
I don't know. I mean, there's a
enjoying,
couple of
in
different
theory,
approaches there.
this
You can really bust your
work-life
butt
balance
and
culture,
help them
and
get
you are looking
recognized
for
and hopefully
the
move
dog
further
eat
up the
dog
chain, and then they'll
kind of
micromanage
corporate
somebody
culture
else.
where
You
you
could
have
look
no
to
time
align
off.
yourself with another
You also might
supervisor,
want to consider perhaps this is not the organization for you, unless you're thinking that your mindset may be changing. Perhaps you just got married and you're thinking you need to be finding something that has a little bit more balance in it, and drawing you away from that.
This manager is doing that with
very
everyone.
laser focused.
Perhaps it's just a personality
work
thing
100 hours a
and
week
that
type
supervisor.
of
For some reason,
experience.
they may
Then
have the
that's
idea
fine.
that they can't trust
But
you, and they
if
need
this
to
is completely at odds with
and
what you
that
are
would be
looking
something
for,
that
what
you should be able
you
to
thrive in,
correct
and what makes you
if
happy,
you are
something we
doing
might
the
want to
job
consider
that
before
they
the
expect you
interview.
To do. Perhaps
so back to doing your research. In addition to researching the company,
about what
they probably sent you some kind of an email,
you may not be meeting them.
You had a phone call. They told you where you were going to interview. Perhaps they told you who you were going to be meeting with, who you were going to be talking to. If you have any of those names,
some of that's
Google
on
them.
You to make sure
Look
you
them
take
up on
ownership
LinkedIn.
Of the fact that
Look
you
them
are not
up
meeting
on
the guidelines
Facebook
and
or any of the other social medias, and see what they're up to.
Unfortunately,
it gives you a little bit more of an insight
we all have a boss,
to the types of folks
and
that you're
all
going
of
to be
them
meeting
are
with.
going to be of the
Look
same
at the
mind.
company on LinkedIn. And if you can see a lot of their employees have only been working there for 2 months,
provided
6 months,
it's
12
not
months.
Doing anything
If this isn't a brand new startup,
we'll talk to that type of
that should be a bit of a red
bit.
flag.
Dealing with
and
a
you should be putting that on your
really
list of questions to talk to them
Take
about
a deep
and
breath,
say, hey,
try
I
to
noticed
consider where they're
on
coming
LinkedIn,
from.
many of your
Think about their
employees
experience
are
and
new
why this
or
might
newer
be
to the
happening.
company.
Ask around.
Is this because you've recently gone
find
through
out
some
if it's just
organizational
between you and them, if
changes?
that's just
Was
their
there
style,
any kinds
and
of
see if you
major
can't sit down and
overhauls
talk to them a little bit and come
perhaps
up
the
with some
company was
kind
recently
of
bought out?
arrangement where you both might
Changes
be
to their
comfortable, some kind
structure,
of a compromise
or
where you can
do you
be
typically only
reporting out a little
hire
bit more
temporary
frequently,
employees?
and
Perhaps
they will
you
feel
do
comfortable knowing where things
fellowships.
are at,
Perhaps they
and
do internships.
hopefully,
Tell me
over
more
time,
about
that
the
will
structure
develop
of how you
such that
do
they'll have more
your
and more
hiring,
trust
because this
for
is going
you,
to
that
affect
they'll
you,
give you a
right? I
little
mean,
bit
if
more
they're
rope.
only looking to bring
So
you
the
in for a
opposite to
year
this is
and
the boss
that
that's
wasn't
never
communicated,
around.
but that's what's
Never
going to
had
end up
one of
happening,
these where
you need to
they
know that.
come, they're new to
You
your
need
team,
to be able to make the
they
best
tell you their
decision possible if
expectations,
this
and
is
then
the
suddenly
right
they're just
company
gone.
for
They don't
you.
answer email,
And this is
they're
you
never in their
interviewing them.
office.
Are
You
they a
have
good
no
fit
idea what
for
they
you?
do all day or where they are.
Perhaps
They're
it's just the
in
new
meetings
folks that are the only ones that are
appointments
active
or wherever they are
online.
And
You never know.
You've got the type
But
of
it
job where you
does
need to check
raise
in with
the
them,
question in
or
your mind,
you're
or
just
at
the
least
type
it
of
should,
employee who's used
for
to
further
having to check in.
clarification
Maybe you had a
during the
micromanager
interview.
before that
So the
you
next
got
thing
along with
I would
really well,
suggest
and now you've got
is
this boss that's just never
you want to
there,
get yourself a notebook
you
and make a
are
list of any of the
constantly
questions that
getting
came to
stalled out
mind
on
based
what
on
you're
your
doing
research of the
because
company.
you can't track
You
this
had some
person
questions
down.
about their core
That can be
values
really
or their mission.
frustrating.
Or
I've
the
had
types of
where
jobs
you were
or
waiting
the
around
types of employees that they're
for
hiring, longevity.
feedback or
You'll want to
approvals on
talk
things,
about
and
things like
there's other
job
people,
advancement,
perhaps your employees
or,
are bugging you, asking
health
questions,
benefits,
and it puts you
child
in a
care
tricky spot
if you
because you don't have
require that,
the power to
401k,
move forward without these
those
approvals,
types of questions.
and you can't find the person
with
to give
respect
you
to
the
salary,
approvals.
unless they bring it
So,
up
do you go out on a
for
limb
a professional
and
type
take
of
the
position
initiative?
most of the time.
Perhaps
This is going to be
do
handled by the
you
HR
go
department.
over their head
So the
and
person
say, hey, I
interviewing
can never
you
find this
may
person?
not even have
Perhaps.
any insight into
Both
what
of those
the
sound a little risky to me.
salary they would be
could
offering
be
you
detrimental
is.
to your career in
I'm
general.
talking more about questions
You
like
risk getting in
the
trouble because
culture
now you have
of the
no
organization,
overhead
what a
coverage
typical
because
day
you've gone
looks
out on a
like
limb
in
and
this
taken a
role,
risk.
what the
Could pay
advancement
off big
opportunities
time.
are,
They could
what
say,
the educational
great.
and skills development
The
opportunities
initiative that you
are.
took is
Will
fantastic,
they pay for
but
you to
again,
take a
that's
class
kind
at
of
a local
50-50
university,
chance, I think,
or do
right?
they
So you
offer
have to kind of
on-the-job
decide
training?
where you are in your
Those
career,
are the types of
where
questions
you are
you
in
want
your
to be ready to
organization,
ask.
if you want to take
And those
that
are very
chance.
personal.
Going over their head,
those are what
obviously
you
breaking
want
chain
to
of
get
command,
out of the
whether
job.
you're in
And I
any
would
kind of
encourage you to
industry,
really give a
can
lot of
definitely
thought
be
to the questions
a
that
game
you
changer for your
prepare,
career.
because you want to
tick
know
off your boss,
the answers to those
you
before
upset
you can
their
make an
boss
informed
because
decision
now they have
whether
to
or not
step
they are the
in,
right
and
fit
it
for
just
you.
becomes
There's many different ways that
complicated
companies do
and a
interviews
political
now, the
nightmare with
behavioral,
making sure that
panel
everybody
interview, all of the
continues to
different
play nice
fancy
after
names that
that.
they have for these.
So,
and they're all meant
similar to a micromanager,
indirectly
you might sit down with this
lead
person,
the organization
you can
to a
get
better
a
understanding
meeting
of the
invite
person they're
to get
interviewing.
accepted,
And
sit
I
down
really
with them
encourage
and
the interviewee
get 15
to
minutes
take
of their
that same
time to say,
approach.
look,
Obviously, you're not going to
I
assemble your own
am
panel,
happy
but
to do my job.
when
I'm
you're
happy
asking
to
questions,
take the initiative
if
to
you're
do X,
calculated
Y, and Z, if
in
you're
how you
busy,
ask these questions
but
and what questions
I am
you
really
ask,
struggling
you will
right
get
now
more
because
information.
on
Right, so
occasions A,
if
B, and
you
C,
want to
I
make
couldn't
sure
move forward because I
that
couldn't track you down.
they
And I'm not trying
are
to manage your calendar,
supportive
but maybe we could set up a
of
regular meeting
educational
where I
growth,
could get
you can
approvals
talk
every
about
Thursday
things like
or
their
every afternoon at
programs
2
for
o'clock, or
tuition
however you need
reimbursement
them,
or
so that you have something set on the
expansion of
calendar, and hopefully
skills.
they would
How
honor
do they
that.
keep their employees
if you're talking to them, explaining
advancing
that
in scientific
this is where I'm
areas?
at,
If this
and
is
we
a
kind of need
very
this to keep us
scientific
moving
profession,
forward,
you know,
and
you can ask them
demonstrate to
questions
them
about
in your
continuing
explanation
education into
that
those
it's also
type
in
of
their
arenas.
best interest.
Science is always
Now,
changing,
I'm not
right? So
suggesting
they
you
must be
threaten them and
keeping
say,
their
if you don't do this, you're
employees
going to get screwed
in
and you're going to get
lockstep
fired
with
too.
the
I'm
trends
simply suggesting
in that environment.
that if
How
you
do
can
they do
illustrate
that?
to them
What does
that
a typical day
you getting
look like
things done
in
in
the
a
office
timely
is
manner
one of
and
the
meeting
questions
your
I really like.
deadlines and
And if
avoiding
you are
any delays
interviewing
in
with
the
more
work
than
that
one
you're
person,
working on is
I
going
would
to
ask
reflect
each
well
of them
on
to answer
them
that question
and
because
further
you
up
may
the
get
chain.
different responses.
Right, so you want to demonstrate
Especially
why
if
it's in
they're
their
in
best
different
interest
roles,
to kind of be
right?
dialed in a little
How do
bit.
employees
Or
relate with
perhaps
the
they want to
management
give you
here?
the power
Is it a team
to take the
environment?
initiative. How
If
awesome
it
would
is,
that
could
be?
you give me some
Right? I
examples
mean, now they've just
of the
given
types
you
of
more
team building
responsibility,
activities
which in theory
or,
should
or
help
team
develop your career.
approach
If
that
that's
your
the way they go,
organization
CYA.
uses?
CYA,
Because many
CYA. Cover
organizations
your
rave
ass.
about being
Every email
team
you
environments,
get,
and I've talked
you
about this
should
on
be
other
keeping
episodes.
from that boss.
Some of them are flat
Because
out
if it's
lying.
outside
There's no
of
such
your
thing as team.
regular
They may say,
duties or
"Oh, we're all
outside
about
of your
team.
regular
We're all
roles
about
and
team. We're all about
responsibilities,
team." Yeah.
you want to make sure
No,
that
they're
you're
not.
covered.
They're
Should
saying
somebody
that
else come by
because
and say,
they
"Why are
put
you doing
people
this?
on
That's
teams,
so and so's job."
but they're
you want
not
to make sure that
meant
you have
to
it
function
documented.
as a
And the
interacting
way I do that
team, as a
after you
cohesive
have in-person
unit.
meetings
They're just grouped in teams.
is you send a follow-up
and then,
email to
you know,
that
they
person
have to
and say, "Hey,
step on each other
really appreciate
in
you
order
taking
to
the
move
time
up
to
to
talk
the
to me
next group of
today.
teams.
Just wanted
So
to
that's
confirm
something.
the
If that's
few
appealing
things that
to
we
you,
talked about. Just
no
wanted to
problem.
let you know.
But if
starting
that's not
tomorrow,
appealing
I
to you
will
in a
be doing
team-like
this,
environment
this,
where
based on
everybody
our
works
discussion
together
in your
and
direction.
it's a
If
real
at any time this
collegial
should change
and
or you should
supportive
feel like you want to
environment
discuss a different
where
arrangement,
you know you hold
please
the
let
ladder
me
for
know
others,
and we can set another time
you
to
want to
have a
know
meeting. Send
if
it
that's
out there.
really
Hopefully you'll
what they're
get some
offering.
kind of response to them.
So back to having your
but
notebook.
most
You want to have a
emails
notebook when you
nowadays
go in there.
use
Have
Outlook,
your
and
list
you've
of
got
questions
your
that you
confirm
know
receipt.
for sure you want
You can put the
answers
confirm
to.
receipt on
Maybe you don't
something
want to
like
list them
that,
all out in
and
long
then you
form.
make
Maybe
sure
you just
that
want to
they've
give a
gotten
couple
the email,
keywords, couple key
right? So
bullets
then if
to
their
trigger your
boss's
memory of the
boss
different
comes
things
by
that you
and
are
says,
asking.
"Why are you signing off
Take
on
notes.
these things?" You can say,
There's
"Look,
going to be a
I
lot
met
of
with my
questions that
boss.
you ask. There's going to be a lot of questions
He's really
that they
swamped
ask.
right now for
And
whatever reason.
the last thing you want to do is
and he
come out of the interview
designated me
and get
to
in your
take care
car on
of
the way
this,
home
said
and be
that
like,
I was
crap, I
capable
totally
and-
meant to
and
ask them about
responsible
how
enough
many
to do
days of
this, so he
vacation we
asked
get a
me to
year.
take it. I
And
have
for
an
you to have to
email
write
if
in an
you'd
email
like to follow
afterwards
up
some
on it. I'm
kind
happy
of
to send you
really
the
basic question
the email chain of what's going
shows
on
that
and where we're at.
you were
And
either
then
ill-prepared
that's off your
or
plate.
flustered
There
or
might
just
be some
disorganized and didn't remember
repercussions
to
of
ask
it.
that question.
You know, I
Now,
don't
if
know
it's a
that boss
question
will
that
be
came up
ticked off
during
because
the
the other boss
interview
is being
based on
lazy
the conversation that you had,
kind of
and,
holler
you know,
at you a little
later
bit,
on that
and you may have to
afternoon or the
take
next day, you're
some
thinking, gosh,
grumpiness
they
or
were really talking
frustration
about this,
listening to
and
them,
it made me
but
think about
ultimately,
this.
You've
I
documented
think I might need more information.
That your boss
then you
gave
can send a
permission to
follow-up
do what
email
you're
and
doing.
say, you know,
So
our
technically,
discussion
you should
on
not
such
get in
and such a
trouble for that.
topic led me to think
Obviously,
about
if it's something that
X,
you
Y,
are
and
not
Z. Could you
legally
provide
allowed to
further
do. You know,
clarification
I'm
on
not
this?
talking about if you're an
Bring a
engineer
notebook,
signing off
take
on
notes.
designs, or
I would also
if you're a
recommend that
doctor
you
signing
bring
off on
printed copies of
whatever.
your resume.
I'm talking about
Most places
just general
say,
stuff. If
don't worry about
you are
bringing your
capable
resume.
of doing it
I've
and
been
don't
to a couple
require some
interviews
kind
where
of
that happened, and I got there, and the
certification
person I was sitting
or training or
across with
license to do
hadn't
what
even
it is
read my
they're asking
resume,
you to
hadn't
do,
even seen it,
that should
and
not be a
in one
problem.
particular case,
The other
looked at me and
problem
said,
with
"Oh
that
gosh, I wish you had
boss
brought a
that's never
resume."
around, you may
Meanwhile,
not
in
be
the
able to
back of
get
my head,
them
I'm thinking
to the
they
table to
specifically
meet with
said
them.
I wasn't
You may
to
not be
bring
able
it,
to nail them
therefore I
down to give you
didn't.
the permission.
But
They
I
may
still look
say,
like
"Oh
the
no,
schmuck
I'll
because I
take
didn't
care
bring
of
my
that. I'll
resume.
take care of that.
So
Just
whether
send
they
it to
tell
me
you
and
to
I'll
or
take
not,
care of
you
it."
don't have to whip
And
it
they may
out.
just string you along.
Have it in your little notebook.
And
Have a copy
and
of it
this may be
there,
a long-term
just
thing.
in case.
I've had bosses like this.
It never
and it
hurts to
lasts
have
for a
one
long
with
time,
you,
and it's very
just in case
frustrating.
that situation
And
comes
again,
up for you,
CYA.
and you're sitting there thinking, I I knew I should have brought it. Because in that particular instance,
and send
the
regular emails
interviewer
checking
was
in,
feeling embarrassed
save copies of
because
all of
they
that,
didn't do
so
their
that when
homework.
things are really
But
going
instead
sideways
of
and things
it
have gotten
staying with
behind,
them, it
or
turned around to
approvals
me
have fallen
because
through, or
I should
say
have brought
business travel
a
hasn't
copy of the
happened, or
resume for
expenses
them.
haven't been
So their
approved, whatever it is that
embarrassment
you're doing,
that they
you
didn't
have
do their
a
homework and were
documented
caught off
email
guard
trail
automatically ends up being my fault.
That demonstrates
whether it is
that
or
you
it
have
isn't,
been
that's just
chasing
the
this
way things
person
work,
down
right?
for
So,
weeks, days,
I'm
months,
embarrassed I
years,
didn't do
whatever
my
it is.
reading, but you're the
And
interview
take
candidate, so
notes.
you should have brought a copy
Get a
of your resume.
notebook,
And you know
write
what?
the dates down
Totally
so that
right.
you have all of
I
those
should have been
examples.
prepared.
So that if
Whether
you should
their
get hauled
email
in
said
by
don't bother
HR
bringing
or
it or
your
not,
boss's
I should have
boss
brought it
or
because you never
whomever
know
it is that
if
will,
you're going
that
to need
will,
it. And it's a couple of pieces
come
of
after
paper.
you for not getting your job
And you
done.
leave and you
You can
didn't
say,
need it.
"Look,
No one ever needs to
I
know
have
you disagreed
tried and
or
tried. I
disobeyed
tried to
what
set a
their
meeting.
email said.
They didn't show up.
But on that
Now,
one
the next
chance
thing
where
you
that
can
make or
do
breaks that
is go
interview,
above their head.
because that interviewer is
And
now
if you're
embarrassed,
getting to the
you can
point
just whip it out and be like,
where
oh gosh,
you've
it's
got
no problem. I
pages and
brought some
pages of
copies of it. I'm sure
documentation
you're
of
really
things
busy.
going wrong in
I can
your
give it
job,
to you and you
and
can
it's
take a
starting
look,
to
or you
really
can take it with
affect
you. That
how
way you don't
you
have
can
to worry
be
about printing it off. I'm
efficient
sure you've got
and
lots to
effective
do.
in your position.
Now
then you need to talk
you've
to
sympathized
somebody.
with them.
Maybe
You've
it is
provided them what
a
they
peer
needed,
of your boss
and you've
that you
given
can
them
talk to
an
confidentially.
excuse
Maybe it's
for
someone
having not
further
done
up
what
in
they
their
needed to
chain
do.
that
So
you
now
can
you're the
talk
hero.
to confidentially. If there's
Will it
somebody
get
that
you the
you are
job?
friendly
I don't
with,
know,
that you can
but
sit
it
down
can't
and say,
hurt.
look,
So
I don't know if
also in
something's
advance,
going on with this person. Perhaps
aside
they're
from
having family
doing
trouble,
your
right?
research
or
on
something
the
outside of
company,
work, they're having health issues.
you want to
that they're
make
not
sure that your
communicating
house is
back in.
clean.
There could be a real
And
legitimate
what I mean
reason
by that
why
is go
they
through
are
your
so
social media.
scarce. But
Anything
it's
you
gotten
posted
to the
up
point now
there,
where it's really
the recruiters
affecting
probably
your
already
job.
looked at.
And
Okay.
you don't want to get
so
them in
before
trouble.
you've even
You don't want to
started
see them
interviewing
have
or
a
starting
problem
applying,
because
this
they
is
are a
something
good
you should have
person or
already done.
whatever.
But
You
since we're
can-
here
you
talking
can
about
spin that
prepping for an
story
interview,
in a very positive manner
maybe
of just
the
being concerned for this person.
interviewees have
They
not looked you
are
up yet.
my boss. I need
Right?
them to
You
do
just
this.
got the notice that you're
I've
going
been
to be
sending them
interviewed.
emails
They've
for
probably
weeks. I
just
haven't been
been
able to get on their calendar.
informed that they're
Perhaps
going
they just
to be
have way
meeting
too
with
much
you.
on their plate.
Go on
So
social
follow
media
up
and
and
make
see
sure
if you can't
your house is clean.
tactfully.
If there's
and
crazy
in a
stuff up there,
supportive
it's
way,
going to be hard to hide
try to
that,
find out
and
what's
that's
going
just
on
going to be
there.
out there.
This
But if
obviously
there
is
are
risky
ways where you
because if you
can
go over their head,
make sure
they're going to
that
get upset. That is a possibility.
your
But
privacy settings, if you've
it's
got
not the
personal
first week
sites
that you
where
haven't been able to get in touch with them. You know, I'm not
are
suggesting,
a little too
oh,
vocal
well,
on
we had a
certain
meeting on
topics,
Friday, they
maybe
blew it
go
off, and then
and
I didn't
tighten
hear
up
from
your
them on
privacy
Monday, so you go to
settings
their
on
boss
your
on Tuesday.
Facebook.
That's really not
Right?
cool.
Again, probably
I mean,
something you should have
if
done
that's the
before
way
you
you
started
choose to
looking
play
for
it,
a
that's the way
job.
you choose to play it.
But
I would say
it's never
that
too late to do it.
you need to
Perhaps
look at the track
you'll be able to
record,
get
right?
it done
If
before
they're
the
almost
interviewer
always
looks
around
you
and they're
up.
suddenly
If
not
you're
around, then
on
maybe there's something
LinkedIn,
going on and stop
maybe
by
go
their office
on
and be
there
like, hey,
and be a little
you're
extra
always around
active
and
the next
and
couple of weeks
you
until
blew me
your
off on Friday.
interview, the
Did we
next
have a
couple of days.
miscommunication or
I'm not
something
talking
along
about
those
brown
lines?
nosing.
But
I'm not
if we're
talking
talking
about
about
kissing up,
someone that is
and I'm not
chronically
talking about being
absent
disingenuous.
or
What I am
not good
saying
with
is that
email or doesn't
if they're
show up to
looking
meetings,
for you,
those are the type
you
of
want to be
people.
showing up
Give them a little
in
bit
a
of rope,
positive
and then,
light.
like I said, if your
Right.
your
So
job
if
is
you
really starting to
typically
suffer because
post an
of
article
this,
now and
then that's
again, but you
probably the
haven't for a
time
little while
when
because
you
you've been
need to
looking
go
for a job.
above their head
Okay, well now you have an
and
interview.
talk to somebody and
So
find
take
out
a little
what's really
time,
going on.
get on LinkedIn,
But again,
and post an article.
document it.
Say
Email
something
it,
positive.
write
Say
down
something
the dates,
upbeat. Hopefully
confirm
that's
what the meeting
your
is about
typical
in
tone.
your email
If it's
invite.
all doom and
Document
gloom,
everything. So that way,
all right,
if they
roll
go
with
to
it. If
HR
that's
to
just who
complain
you
that
are,
someone's out to
own
get
it.
them, you can have a
But
clear
make sure that
demonstration
it's
of you
professional.
weren't out to get them. You were
And
concerned
make
because it's
sure
a pattern of
that
behavior that
the
is
information
not normal,
in
or it's a
your
pattern of behavior that's
background
really
area
affecting
is up
your
to
ability
date.
to do
If
your
there are
job. And you're
certifications
expected to do your
or
job. Do you want to get to the end of the year
affiliations
when you're
that
doing
you
your
are
performance
associated
assessment
with, that
and
your latest
find
job
out
history
that
is
you
in
fell
there?
short
Make
of
sure
half
all
of
of that's
your
in
goals,
there,
you're not getting
because
bonuses,
there
you're
are
not
a lot of
getting
people that
raises,
look at a resume and
you're
think,
getting put
I
on
don't want to read a
performance
resume. I'm just going to go on
review,
LinkedIn.
all of those
That's
things,
their
and it was
that's their
all out of
preferred
your
method
control because
of
you were
interacting,
dependent
right?
upon this
So they're
person
going to go
that
on
didn't
there and try
provide
to look
what
down
they needed
and
to
see
so
what
that
the
you could
different
do your
skill
job.
sets you have
You want
are,
documentation of all of
and
that.
what
And you don't want to
your
let
summary,
it go too
your mission
far.
statement
You don't
are,
want to let
those
it go
types
too
of things.
long.
Make sure that's
You
up
don't
to
want to
date.
go go a year
and
get to that relevant. Performance and have
if you are
your
applying
boss
for
or
a job
someone
at
further
Acme
up
Flag
say, well,
Makers,
why didn't you talk to somebody? Because at that point, you should have talked to somebody about it.
Professional cello player. Try to put something in there that explains the leap
your ability
from
to do your
cello
job,
player to flag maker.
It's your responsibility to reach out to somebody.
Have you been madly making flags in your free time?
Then it's on
and
you,
that's where you get your experience and your passion for it.
You're allowing somebody else.
Or are you just bored with playing the cello and you just thought Acme flag making sounded great?
Kind of dance around
right?
it. It is
See
not
what
a
I'm
fun
saying? So you need to have some kind of
and
transition in there,
it
something
will
that
be
demonstrates
stressful
why you want to make the jump
probably
from
make
A to
things
B.
a little uncomfortable
Obviously,
around the office for a little
you
while,
got to
but
the
in the
interview,
long
so
run,
you'll have
you
an
have to look out
opportunity
for
to sell
you.
your
So
story
you need
in person.
to cover your
But
butt
you also want to make sure that when you come into that room, anybody who's been looking you up online isn't going to be already totally biased against you because there's nothing on there about flags. Why is this person wasting my time?
The last type that we'll talk about is
first impressions mean a lot, and
or unethical
while
boss.
you are going to get to do it in person, if they've already formed an impression of you online, you're going to have to overcome that. And it's going to be that much more work for you in the interview. You may have an amazing story, right, that's going to knock them over, and it's no big shake. But if you don't have that kind of a story
their sliding scale
you were
of what
struck by lightning and suddenly have this overwhelming
tend to be pretty
passion to create flags,
if it's legal, it's legal. If it's not, it's not.
So, and the last thing for prepping you for an interview on your side of the table
and what is
ethical. Very personal.
And there's a whole gray area there.
Hopefully I don't offend anybody here, but I'm just going to be real about
this.
Okay.
That is asking
comb your hair,
maybe to
brush your teeth,
steal work from some
wash your
other
hands,
team, or
iron your clothes,
sidestep the rules to get
ladies
the
don't get crazy
on the
with the makeup
and
the jewelry
like
and the jingles.
It could be something as simple
as
stealing coffee from the break room.
You want to stand out,
right?
but you want to stand out for what you're bringing to the job, not what you're wearing to the job.
If you have a boss that's
polish your shoes,
you to do things that
leave a little bit early to make sure that you get to your interview early.
Determine if
perhaps they didn't tell you about access requirements, and you're going to need to go through a gate, and then you're going to need to give your license at the counter, and then they're going to have to wind you through this crazy building to get to where your interview is, and now you're 10 minutes late.
For instance,
because you plan to be there at the time your interview started.
It was always interesting to hear
sit in the parking lot, sit on the sidewalk outside or around the corner, sit in a coffee shop up the street.
How they pay their
get there 15, 20, 30 minutes early. Get your head in the game. Get ready. Take a look at your notes.
Different rates.
Play a little Sudoku or something on your phone to calm your nerves.
Companies that pay
maybe watch your favorite YouTube comedy video for a few minutes. Get yourself in a space where you are calm, cool, collected, and ready to go in there and nail it. Give yourself every opportunity to ace this that you can.
A flat standard per diem rate
so
for every
let's look at worrying about them.
Country.
All right, you've already done your research. You've already read about the company online. You've read about
there are a lot of rules associated
not
with
so
those
stalked.
Rates.
The people that you're going to be interviewing with, you've read about them. You've kind of gotten the gist of what they're all about.
Submit your expenses.
How can you,
however, have
prepare
been defined by the rules
yourself
of that
to answer the questions that they're going to ask
imagine,
you?
there are
how can you
tons of ways
kind of read ahead
systems.
And figure out what some of the questions they might be, so that you can have the best possible answer, right?
I heard tons of ways.
The first thing I would tell you to do is pull up that
you can get this paid for
job listing.
You can get
that's going to be your best friend. Read through that, and typically they have two sections. They've got what this job is all about, and then they have the what skills are required or would be nice to have.
To try and figure out how to
pick those apart.
Get an extra
go
soda
through what the job description is,
have them pay for my
the skills that they're looking
really
for.
Seem kind of ungrateful because
you
getting
remember
paid
in school
for my dinner
or even in fun workbooks when you're a kid where they have the two columns and you have to find the match in column A to column B and draw the line across.
Okay. I mean, back home, I have to
That's
pay
what
for
I
groceries.
want you to do with
no
their
one's paying for
job
my groceries at home.
Go through and
I
list out all of the things they're looking for and make a column.
Early on, I was young and single.
Paper,
I mean,
write them all out.
Bowl of
and then
cereal
on the left,
over the sink at home.
Write
so
down
to go out to dinner
your skills
all the time was,
and a couple words to trigger your memory on certain
There's other people that are away from their families
or experiences that you've had in your career that directly correlate to what it is they're looking for.
Sometimes folks feel entitled to that because of the inconvenience
what are some of the really good examples of what you've done that apply to those things that they're listing off.
Your food,
because they're going to ask you
when you're on travel,
and
it is
what in your resume or what in your career experience
the rules of what is allowed and what is not,
makes you qualified to do
in my
this
opinion,
task for
they
us.
were pretty generous.
And
the rules, I mean,
tangible,
I never
real
went
life
to
specific
any
examples
of
how you have tackled similar challenges are your best bet. Because you are providing them not only
that's just a really
an
good
anecdote, which may or may not be funny or entertaining, but you're
in my opinion,
providing them with specific
I think it kind of is.
examples
is
of
it breaking
how
the
you
law?
have already solved that problem. And
again,
that's
it
what
depends on
employees
where
do.
you're working.
Employees solve problems.
If you're working
no
in
matter
government,
what level you're
I'm
at,
not sure
you
if
solve
it's
problems.
a law that the rules
The
are,
bathroom's
but it's
dirty,
certainly unethical.
you bring the mop in and the bucket,
corporate,
you solve that problem, you clean the
probably
bathroom.
unethical.
You
if you're
need
cheating
to
the
sell
system when you're
12
on travel.
widgets, you come up with a plan.
This is just,
You execute the plan and you sell 12 widgets.
Example that I
Right?
can come
It
up
doesn't
with
matter
in my
what
head
we're talking
with
about
ways
here.
that you can cheat.
Employees
if you're traveling
are
with a
problem
boss and the
solvers.
boss is showing
Period.
you how to
So
cheat the system,
the better you
get
can
more money
describe and
out of your
provide them
organization,
examples
you might
of
just
how
say,
you have tackled that
I
problem they
don't
already
really need
have,
to do that.
and you are
I
experienced
had plenty to cover my
tackle
meal
it
tonight.
and,
I'm fine.
and
That's-
solve that problem
that's
for
how
them.
I'll handle it.
The more
If you're
times
with your
in the
boss
interview
and
you can
they are
demonstrate that
suggesting that you
capability,
can gain
the
the
higher
system
and higher and
to
higher
get
you're
more
moving up on the
money
list.
on a trip.
Obviously,
or,
your personality, your
get better
appearance, your
work
experience,
from
those
another
things all play
team,
into it.
Those
but
kinds of things. If they're
at a base
suggesting
level,
that
they're
kind of
looking for someone that
behavior,
can come in and
I would say
complete that
your
job
first
description.
action would be try to sidestep
And
it.
it's
If
one
you
thing
are
to say, I'm
uncomfortable
really good
with
at
anything they're
spelling,
asking you to
I'm
do
really
or
good at
suggesting
Excel
that you could do,
spreadsheets,
try to just
I
sidestep and say,
am
oh, that's
really
good to know, that's
personable
good to
and
know.
I make
And
a
if they're
lot of
not approving
friends.
things
I'm
or
very
not
good at
seeing things,
networking.
then
I can
just
do
do
public
it the right
speaking
way
pretty well.
and submit it. You don't have
It's
to
one
call
thing
them
to
out
say
and
all
make
of
them
those
feel
things.
embarrassed that,
It's another thing
you're such an
to
unethical
demonstrate
person. I
it.
would never do that.
Right?
What's
You have an
wrong with
opportunity
you?
to sit across
Probably
from the table
not the best
and
approach.
to
If they are going to
descriptively
be seeing
provide
what
them
decision you
examples
ultimately
of
make, you
how
might just say,
you are all
I'm
of
really
those
not
things.
I'm really not comfortable
You're
with
looking
that.
for somebody
If they're going to be
that
seeing
can present your
what decision you
material
made
in a
based on
believable
approvals, if they
and
have to,
a
sign off
powerful
on your
way.
expenses or something like
I
that.
am that person
you might just
because
say,
in
I'm
my
not really
last
comfortable
job,
with that.
I was
I had plenty to
responsible
cover my
for
meal. I'm good with that.
X, Y, and Z.
I make a good salary.
That is
however
how
you want to
demonstrate
however
to
you want
them
to couch it.
that
but
you
short
are capable
and
of doing
sweet
that because
is
you're
probably
giving them
best without long
specific
explanations,
before and
because,
after
again,
snapshots
you don't want to make them
of your
feel
past
like they've just been
performance
judged.
and how it applies
I kinda think
directly
that most
to
people
the
know
position
when they're
description
doing something they shouldn't
elements
be doing.
that they are looking to
And
fulfill.
Oftentimes, when
transferable
someone's doing
skills,
something they shouldn't
such
be
a
doing,
buzzword nowadays, but
I feel
it's so
like
true.
they either
The things
want
that
it
you
to
can
totally
do
slip
anywhere
under the radar,
are the
or
skills
they
that
want
sell.
other people to be doing it too,
However,
so they don't feel as bad.
the trick is to
They can
demonstrate
justify it,
how
right?
they are not
They can say, "Oh, well, I'm
general
not the only one that does it
transferable
because I
skills.
mentioned it to so and so,
They are
and they're
skills
doing
that
it that
they
way
want,
too."
need,
So,
and
kind
can
of
have the
misery loves
privilege
company. It's kind of
of
along that same line,
access
right?
to
If
should
someone's
they hire
doing
you.
something shady, it makes
I'm a
them feel
great
better to
public
have
speaker.
someone else doing
That's
it,
great.
because then they
How
don't feel
does
like
that
they're the
help
only ones
me?
breaking the rules.
Why
and
does
hey,
that
maybe if
transferable
other
skill
people are doing
directly
it this way
apply
too,
to
then
this
it's really
position?
not that bad,
And
perhaps
that's
that
your
shouldn't be a rule
challenge.
anyway.
And the
because
more
that's just
homework
stupid.
you do
If we're all doing it
before
this way,
you go
then
into that
that's the way we
interview
should do it.
conference room
If
or
they are
office
forcing
or
you
auditorium,
to do
however large it
something,
is,
or making it
the better equipped
very
you'll be
difficult
to
for
be
you not,
able to answer those
or
questions. Right?
for
They're going to
whatever
ask you,
reason, if you
give me an example
say
of
that you're
how
not going
you've
to do
tackled
something
this
unethical
scenario.
or shady that they
Tell me
encourage you to
how
do
you
or
would
recommend
handle
that
it
you
if
do
an
or suggest
employee
that you
did
do,
this.
and you start seeing a pattern.
Explain to me, your
of
resume says
retaliation.
that you built
Perhaps
this
you
amount
don't
of
get to go on
revenue.
the good trips.
How did you do
or
that
perhaps
exactly?
you don't get the good projects anymore. Or you're
They
starting
want
to see
details.
that there is something
They
going
want the
on
dirt.
with respect
They
to
want
the
the background.
relationship
They
that you
want to
have with
really
this person,
be able
this
to
supervisor,
visualize
because you
and
don't
understand
choose to
how
live
amazing
in their
you are.
world of,
And this is your opportunity
gray areas
to tell them.
That's when
but
you
you've
need
got
to
to
really
tell them like
pay
you're
close
telling
attention.
a story. You've
I would
got to give them
suggest, again,
specific
I'm all
examples
about
and
the
background.
CYA. The
and
very first time that someone
the who's and the hows and
suggests
the
to
whens
you
and the wheres,
that you should do something
so that they can
that
really
isn't completely above
understand your
board,
process.
make a note of it.
It's not
I'm
just
not
a
saying
mystery
that you
that
need
you're
to
coming
submit
in
it
and
to
saying,
HR,
"Oh yeah, I
call
can do
their
that."
boss.
I got
I'm not
that.
suggesting any of that.
Because they don't know
I'm
you.
suggesting
And
that you write it down in
aside
your
from
notebook.
maybe you working for
have
a whole
file
bunch of
at
fancy
home,
name
write it
companies
down at home.
that they're
just
enamored
keep track
by,
of it, the day,
they still don't know
when
you.
it was,
They don't
what
know how
went
you
on,
work.
and the
And this
details
could all
of
be
it. Because
baloney.
nothing may come
It
of
could
it
just
for
be a
months
resume
or maybe
that
a year.
you ginned up
and then something may
put
come
all this
up,
great stuff
something
in
similar.
that you found on
and you
Indeed.com.
can't quite remember the details.
They
or
need
what
to
it
make
was,
sure that what
then
it
you
is
can
you're
go back and
saying
look
in
in your
there
notes and
is
say,
really
"Oh,
you.
gosh,
And
this
therefore,
happened
that's
last
your
year
chance to tell your story.
And write that down again.
So that's the crux of
And then maybe it doesn't happen again for a couple months.
There's obviously,
but now you're starting to see
an imbalance. There's a lot more about worrying about you.
You're starting to see that
about
your projects are changing, or your performance rating is changing,
because
and you're starting to
that
notice
should
pattern
reinforce
because you have basically told this person
is about
that what you think they're doing is wrong.
It's not about
You may not have
them.
come right out and said it, but they're not
You
stupid.
need to prepare for your side because
set
you
yourself
need to make
apart
sure
as someone that
you
has
are
ethics
gathering
and scruples
all of the
and
information
are a
needed
goody
so
two-shoes,
that
if
you
will,
can make a decision
then
if they are
they're
going to
get a little sensitive to that
when you're
because
sitting
that
there
forces them
and you're talking
to look
to
at
them,
what they're doing.
it's kind of like
there
a
may
first
be
date.
repercussions of that. So you
I
want
wrote
to have these things
blog
documented.
article a while
So
back
if
about
further down the
how
road, this
job
should really
interviews are
start
like
to
a first
impact
date.
your job or your
I think
performance
it's funny,
rating or your
but I think
salary
it's very
or your
true.
advancement. You want to
If
make
there
sure that
are
you have
little
documentation of
antennas
this.
going up,
Not to mention
making
that
you
you're on
think
this person's
something's not
team.
quite right here, or
And
something's
what
not a
if
great
you're
fit
the only
here, or
person
that sounds
who's
a little
not
odd.
cheating the
Pay
system?
attention to those.
And everybody else
because
on the
you
team
are
is,
never
or several of the
as
people on the team
objective,
are, because
whether
they
you're
feel
dating
intimidated by this person or for
or
whatever
you're at a
reason,
job interview,
right?
as you
and
are
then your
in
team
that
comes
first
under investigation,
meeting.
or they do a
Right, all of your senses,
organizational
your heart, your excitement about the
reorganization,
job,
or the big boss
your
comes in
ambition
and says,
about how
we're
you're
cleaning
going
things
to
up because
move
your
up through
team
the
is
company
shady.
or
You want to
advance
have
or
documentation
really dazzle them.
of how you
That's
did not
going
participate
to
in that because you want to
really
be the
detract
one
from your
that doesn't get in
clear
trouble
vision
or doesn't get fined
once you're a
or
little
doesn't
further
get
down the
fired.
road, right?
You know, there
Because
could
you
be
are
serious ramifications
justifying
for
at that point.
their actions, and
You've
you want to
taken the
make sure
job.
that your shop is clean.
You've gone through
You wanna
training,
make
you're
sure
there,
that you've
you're
got
starting to make
evidence
friends.
to
But
back
the
up
things
fact
that you
did
thought
not
of
participate in
or
whatever that was
observed
going on.
or
So
heard
it's in
in
your
the
best
interview
interest to document
are
these things
in the
as
back of
they're
your
happening.
brain,
I would
working their way
suggest
to
that
the
you keep
forefront
that
saying, wait a
document at home,
minute,
on a home
this
computer
doesn't
or
seem
a
right.
notebook at home.
They
and
talked
write it
about
down
this
at
in the
home
interview, but I
because,
dismissed it.
You know,
But
you don't want to be
I've
that
already been
person
working
sitting
here
in your
for a
office
while,
taking
and we'll
notes
just see
about
where
all
it
of your
goes. And
coworkers.
I quit my
Probably
other
not the
job.
best idea.
Now you're making excuses.
You leave it there overnight.
Now
Sometimes
you're
someone
here.
goes snooping.
Now there's
you never
100
know.
reasons to stay.
Plus, you go home,
including,
you sit down,
oh gosh,
you collect your thoughts, you
I
document
don't
what
want to go through
happened, and you
interviewing
keep
again.
it there.
Right?
And then
I
if
don't want to have
something
to go
comes
back
of it all,
there
then
and
you
do
can
this
bring
all
that
again.
notebook in. Maybe you
So
have to
now
meet
I
with
might
the
be staying
HR.
somewhere
Maybe you have to
that I'm
meet
not
with
really
the
going
legal
to be
department.
happy in.
Who knows what it is that
Because I
happens,
didn't listen
but
to
you've
that
got your
little
documentation
sense
and
or that
you've
little
got
idea in the
your
back of your head that you
information.
heard
And
that wasn't quite right.
if they ask you
and
questions,
it may be something really simple.
it
You know,
isn't
maybe they just
about,
don't give enough
I remember
vacation time, or
something
maybe
happened, but I don't remember exactly when.
maybe
or
it isn't
where.
quite
It
the
seemed kind of
team-oriented
odd, but
environment
no, you have
that you thought it was
hard
going to be.
data.
Maybe
On this day,
you know, maybe
at this
morale
time,
isn't
we
as
were here,
rosy
these
as
are the
they made
people
it
that were
seem.
there,
Maybe
and
people
this is
are
what transpired.
really kind of
and
mopey
this is
here.
what I did about it.
You know, it could be a million little
This
things.
is what happened,
But
and this is what I did about
you
it.
probably have
And
the best understanding
if
of
you
the
can
type
bring that
of
document in and
environment
have
in which you
open
will
it up
thrive in.
and demonstrate
And
that
it is
you know,
important
you've kept
when
very
you're
good
looking
records
for a job
about this.
to look for
you will
that
be much more
environment.
credible
Obviously,
than someone
if you
that
need a
is
job, you gotta
scratching
take
their
a
head
job.
trying to recall facts from
That's one
a
thing.
month, 6 months,
Right? But
6
if you
years
already
ago,
have a job
who
and
knows
you're
when it'll
just
come up.
not sure you love
If
it there
doesn't
and you want to
go
find
to
another
that
job,
level,
and yeah, you may want to get
you know,
out of there by
perhaps you're
summer.
just finding out that you and your
But
boss
you're just finding
are
more of the
not really
same,
seeing eye
of
to
the
eye, and you
same,
think
of
it
the
is
same,
because
of the
he's kind of
same.
shady and you're not willing
Probably
to play.
not really worth
You
it
might consider
to
talking
jump
to
ship
him
from
about
where
it.
you are
If it's something
to go to
simple
more of the
or
same.
something small, once again,
The whole
set
idea
a
of
meeting and
this
say,
is
I'm a
that
little
you want to
uncomfortable
find
with this.
that right environment
I feel like
where you can be
might
happy and you can
disappointed in me
thrive
because I
and you can
wasn't willing
grow
to do whatever
and
it is they
you can
asked
spend
you
your
to do.
40 hours a
Or I
week
feel like I might not be getting
enjoying
the work.
what you do,
Am I
feeling
totally off
fulfilled,
base here?
feeling
and chances
satisfied,
are they'll probably
or just not
tell you
feeling
you're crazy.
miserable.
That's not happening.
So when you're
You could
going
also
to these
say,
interviews and
I
you're
am feeling
prepping
like
and you're
I'm
doing
not getting
this,
the good work anymore. Is there
taking
something that
notes,
I've done?
prepping your
Has my
questions,
performance changed?
matching your work story examples
Is
to
there
their
something
job
more you want to
position
see from me?
description. When you're
Leave
doing
that
all
part
of this
of it
work,
completely
at
out
a
and
minimum,
see if you can tease
the main
the
objective
topics
here
out of
is
your
for you
supervisor
to
for
gather
why
as much
they are
information,
changing
both
what
from
your
that
role
job
is. It
description,
may have nothing
your
to do with the
research of the
fact
company,
that
your
they're
research
shady
of
and
the
you
people
refuse to
there,
be.
and
It
your
may be
interview is for
for
you
some
to be
reason
able to
they're
come
perceiving
home
that you're not
and
capable of
really
doing this
feel
work, or for some reason
how
you're
you
not
feel
interested in doing this
about
project.
that organization.
Perhaps it's just a simple
Do
communication
you leave that
thing.
interview
So,
with
always
that
go to the supervisor
excitement
first
in
and
your
sit
gut,
down with them
like you
and
had a
try to
really
talk
good
to
first
them.
date.
But the
I got a
key
really
there
good
is, again,
vibe.
it's
They're
all
very
about how you
friendly.
ask them.
They seem
It needs
upbeat.
to be in
The
their
morale
best
seems really
interest.
good. The
I
facility
feel like
that I was
am
in
not
is
meeting
in
your
line with all of the
expectations
types of
lately.
environments
I'm
that
not
I
getting
like. It's got a
projects
lot of
X, Y,
bright
and Z.
light, or it's
What
got a
can
lot
I
of
be doing
plants.
to better.
It doesn't
improve
have that
my
obnoxious,
it's all about
overhead
the
lighting, and if it does, maybe it's not as bright as some places, right?
As opposed to
you
going
know
in there and saying,
what it
well,
is you're looking for. Maybe they've got a cafeteria,
and you just seem like you'd
Heck, that would have been pretty
me
awesome.
on these
My last job, we had a
trips, and you keep
CVS.
giving me this work.
All right,
No,
it's better than
you can't
nothing,
do that,
but
right?
how many TV dinners can you eat at lunch?
They're going to feel nasty,
and it's kind of hard to go to CVS with your colleagues for lunch.
No, it's all your fault.
Before I leave you today,
how dare you come to my office
again,
and point
if
those
there's
fingers
one
at me,
thing
right?
that you take away
so
from
you
this
go
episode,
in and talk about how you can
aside from being supremely
work
excited
harder
about your upcoming interview,
your schedule,
and
whatever
feeling
it may
a little
be,
bit more
to
prepared,
better suit
or at
the
least
needs of
organized
the job.
to get prepared.
And obviously, you
want
to be clear about that. You didn't go in there.
I would encourage you to remember
kiss their butt.
That it is not
get wrapped around their
being
finger to do
interviewed.
whatever it is they want you to do.
You are in control.
You're going in there for the betterment
of your destiny.
of your job.
You are in control.
You want to make
of your
sure
career,
that
if
you and your
choose to be.
supervisor are on the same page.
You can
shady
follow
or not,
along
because
and
shady
take
people
whatever
are sneaky.
comes up, and
so
just
you
go
have
with
to be
it
careful about when you go in
that
there.
was the
and
path
say,
of least
I was
resistance.
moving along. I was
I'm
doing
not sure
very
if
well.
that really
I felt like I was
translates to
making
you
good progress in my
controlling
career,
your
and for
destiny.
whatever reason, it
You
seems
are
like
not
things have slowed down.
driving.
Have you seen a change
You're
in
just
my
kinda riding on
performance
it.
that I can
Terrible analogies. I'm sorry.
make
for that,
adjustments
but, you know,
to
that's what comes
improve
to
my
mind.
situation?
Take
Is there
control.
some training I should be
Make
looking
sure
at taking? Do you feel like
that
my
you
skills
want
in area
this person to
whatever
be your next boss.
are lacking?
Make sure
and
you
is
want
that
this
something that I
organization
can
to be
take
your
a
next
class in
employer.
or take a training?
I wish you
or
all the luck in
shadow
your
somebody
interview.
else. Should I find a mentor?
know
Should I
you are
find a
going to
coach?
knock them dead and dazzle
What can
them.
I do
So
to
do a great job.
get myself back on
and
track? Because
drop
I
me a
feel
line
like
because I'd love to
somehow
hear how your
I've
interviews
shifted
go.
a little bit, and I don't want to
Anything that
lose
really
traction.
worked for you or stood out, or anything
Okay, so
that
that's you
changed
being
based on
proactive and
listening to
taking
this
control
episode.
of your career and making
Best of
sure
luck.
that it continues to move
Have a great day.
in the way that you want it to.
All right.
And they may
so
come back
thanks
and
for
say,
tuning in
I don't know
to
what you're
Not
talking
Your
about.
Ordinary
You
Girl.
seem to be
I
doing
hope
just
you
fine
enjoyed
work.
it.
That's
Head
fine
over
too.
to
You'll see it in your performance
NotYourOrdinaryGirl.com
assessment, and hopefully it
subscribe
does
so you don't
reflect
miss an
that. But
episode.
again, go back to your
free to drop
desk
me a
after
note
that
with any
meeting,
topics
document
you'd
it
like
on
to hear about or
email,
feedback,
send them a
and
follow-up
please go
note.
ahead and
Thank you so much for
recommend
meeting with me. I really
Until
appreciate you
next time,
taking the
remember
time.
to
What I
always
understood
stand up
out of that
and be
message,
confident, stand by
or what
all
I
that you
understood
do
out of that
and say
meeting
with integrity,
was
and stand
A,
out,
B, and C.
because
I will
after all,
continue to
there's
do
only one
this
way.
as you suggested. I will work on that as you suggested, and we'll meet again whenever to follow.